Good day, and welcome to my parlor. I am your humble host, the Crimson Jester, here to alleviate your boredom, if but for just a little while. And today, we will be having What If Izuku Was Bonded with Toxin? Part 5. Many things in Izuku's life has gone wrong. A great many things has hurt him in the past. A great many things have been painful, but never, ever, ever in his life did he ever believe he would be in this much pain. He thinks, as he is currently in the air, being slammed down very, very painfully via Agent Venom with a thunderous slam, an impact that shatters the concrete underneath and definitely will be leaving both him and Toxin with quite a few bruises. Oh. You're still too slow, kid. It's been 5 days now. You think you'd catch the hint. You need to be faster. Think faster and act faster. It's kind of hard to think faster whenever you try to move and some person grabs and slings you. Take 5. Thank you. As at this moment, Izuku tries to remember what exactly brought him to this moment in time in his life. 5 days earlier. What do you mean my son is in danger? Well, you see, Mrs. Midoriya, there's currently a very dangerous villain out after your son. What? Huh? What do you mean, after me? What did I do? My boy, maybe it's best if you... Young Izuku, you're currently safe. I know it's difficult, but you must tell your mother everything now. Everything? If the situation was different, I might be more inclined to keep this up. But at the moment, you are going to be in desperate need of assistance. Both of you will be. So, I think it's best if you told her everything. What's he talking about, Zuko? As Flash walks up, Toxin isn't a quirk. What? Of course he... No, ma'am. Toxin is an alien species. Huh? They're known as the Clintar. I know because, well, as the black ooze begins to form around Flash, enveloping his body into, well, Agent Venom. Because we are Venom. Just like they are Toxin. To be specific, Toxin would be akin to my grandchild. Uh, oh, what? Indeed. It's best if we started a little bit sooner. You see, Clintar have to soak up a certain amount of biomass before we can asexually reproduce. Upon doing so, the offspring is usually stronger than us, the originator. In that regard, well, it's essentially a blank slate. Everything they know and everything they can do is a bit unknown to them. They rely upon us to train them, to help them learn. I failed my firstborn. No, no. I destroyed my firstborn. What do you... When we were younger and bonded to a different host, our anger, combined hatred of Spider-Man blinded us. We hated him beyond reason. But we already absorbed a high amount of biomass, not only from him, but from the current host. It was time for the budding, but I did not want it. I wanted revenge. So I cast it aside. What? I quite literally threw it into a situation that it was never prepared for. It was one of the biggest mistakes of our lives. Because from there was born carnage. A scared and sensitive little thing that became enraged upon binding with its host, Cassidy. What was Cassidy? He was a serial murderer. What? A powerful, dangerous killer. And now bonded with my child. Altering its mentality and physiology, just as all bonds do. What do you mean? When we bond, we adapt, especially when we're younger. Whenever we're first born, we are more susceptible to our host's will and mental states. In fact, the only reason I believe that Toxin has not become more destructive is because the person he's bonded with is so timid, so kind. If it was someone more aggressive, his natural urges would have broken through and likely have killed somebody by now. But I digress. Every symbiote pregnancy is different. Sometimes it could be as simple as casting away a small shell, like I did with Carnage. Other times, depending on the power, it could be a very long, drawn out process that take days or even months to complete, draining your storage of bioenergy. That's what happened in America 4 months ago. Huh? You're saying, yes, me, Toxin, was born on a pier. Carnage was trying to get rid of it. Why? Because Toxin is more powerful than Carnage, just as Carnage was more powerful than us. Huh? Toxin is very dangerous. Its abilities are astounding and need to be honed. You're saying that Carnage is Toxin's father and that it tried to kill him? Yes. Carnage wants no rivals. Carnage, well, wants his own namesake. We do not wish that. What we wish for is symbiosis. We wish to make things right for all the wrongs we have done. We could not allow him to destroy you, Toxin. We could not allow another one of our own to be sent down this dark path. But while we were distracted, he threw you into the ocean to never be seen again. We waited and waited, trying to find where you would be. And then you popped up. What do you mean? This is where the part where you are in danger comes into play. You see, all symbiotes have a natural ability to detect symbiotes. You are giving off that signal wildly. Huh? As toxin begins to form over Izuku and looks at the form of venom. So, what do we do about it? That's simple. You must be trained. Learn to focus so you can purposely control the output. Control it? Yes. You see, Toxin, you are giving that signal off wildly. All of my children know where you are at, relatively speaking. But if you learn to control it, you will only be able to detect them if they will only be able to detect you. And vice versa, once you hit within a 30-foot to possibly 40-foot parameter. Wow, that is a lot to take in. So, I'm sorry we lied to you, Miss Midoriya. Toxin? Y- yes, ma'am. While I am slightly irritated that you did lie, I can understand the reasons. And honestly, it is very fantastical. I would have accused my boy of possibly losing his mind if he would have told me this. But I will have to ask you to not lie to me ever again. Understood? Yes, Miss Midoriya. I'm still your mom. What? You. What? You helped my son grow. You've been there for him, and I've been there for both of you. Just because you are adopted doesn't make you any less of a son of mine. Is that understood, mister? But is that understood? Y- Yes, ma'am. Good. Now, what does this have to do with him being in danger? As I said, Carnage despises Toxin and will come after him if he's not already here in Japan. Oh, yes. Oh. And Carnage, unlike most people, has no reservations about who or what he kills. If anything, if we just kept him here in this perfectly safe structure and he found out who he was, he would likely kill you to draw him out. Carnage is a perfect killer, a hunter and tracker extraordinaire. But most importantly, he's an asshole. And will use any advantage he can against you. I see. So, what I'm hearing is we need to protect young Midoriya at all cost. Is that right? The Chimera speaks up after popping out from Shoda. Oh, yes. Shoda's capture weapon scarf. You know, that still creeps me out when I see that little thing do that. You get used to it. Yes, it would be best if he was kept somewhere safe, somewhere he can be trained and honed into how to properly face off against something of that nature. Face off? You expect him to fight Carnage? No. But we need him to be safe and to actually learn his abilities. Toxin is powerful. His host will become more so. Both of them together can be a great instrument of good. However, if ill properly trained, if left alone, it could be disastrous. Not to mention, you said, not to mention, there's no natural quirk coming off of this boy. How can you? Quirks have a scent to them, a type of smell. It comes from being more of a predator species than prey. You give off none. You are like my host, Flash, quirkless. You, you're quirkless? Indeed, he is. But he is also strong. You can become more so. You can become very powerful with Toxin. You both need training. Not to mention, while we will be trying to deal with Carnage, if he were to catch you unaware, if he were to attack you, you would have no way of defending yourself without relying on your skills, which as of now you have virtually none. Hmm. You're right. I was going to plan to train young Midoriya myself. Oh, and why's that? He's caught my eye. Even whenever I thought Toxin was a quirk, he still caught my eye. And I have a feeling even if he didn't have Toxin, he still would have. After all, I was a late bloomer. Oh, yes. My quirk didn't manifest until I was about 15. That's whenever my master decided to start training me. Or I should say, where she discovered me. I understand what it's like to be quirkless. And while things have changed drastically over the last few decades, I can understand how rough the hardships must have been. Not to mention, this fits in well with what I was already planning on telling you, young Midoriya. What's that, All Might, sir? Simple. There is no way in hell that I was going to let you go back to your Aldera High School. What do you mean? Miss Midoriya, your son has been greatly abused, mistreated, and assaulted both mentally and physically there. The main reason he didn't tell you was, well, he believed you had enough on your plate as it is without having to worry about him. I found out through, well, unpleasant means. So, I would greatly appreciate it if you would pull him from there, as me and Mr. Nezu have discussed this topic in very rough detail. But where would he go? I don't know any schools nearby. If I may, Miss Midoriya, we could simply have him here. At this point, Izuku's eyes widened to the size of saucer plates. What do you mean? What I mean, Miss Midoriya, is that I was planning on putting Izuku into the recommendation course right from the start after he got here. What? Huh? Indeed. I was going to personally recommend him, and I'm sure All Might was going to do the same. You see, he's very special, and not just because of Toxin. From what we were able to read of his notebooks and such while he was recovering, your son has quite the tactical and analytical skill set that just that type of skill set we just love to see flourish here at UA. And considering everything else, it would just make the most sense to put him in our school. Help him learn, train, focus, all the essential things he would need to become not only a better hero, but to also survive this current predicament. And considering everything else that's going on, we can also easily make arrangements for you to stay here while the criminal carnage is at large. We can easily arrange transport, and you'd be perfectly safe to, well, live your life here as you see fit. Granted, with a lot more interactions with heroes, but that shouldn't be too big of an issue, should it? Uh, uh. At this point, Izuku faints and passes back out on the table. It's like, well, medical cot. To be fair, they probably feel like tables. Like, huh? I think, uh, I think I possibly overloaded him. Principal Nezu. Yes? Yes, I do believe you did, in fact, overload poor Midoriya. We were going to break this to him gently. Oh well. Sleep well, young Midoriya. And from there, a training regime was set up, planned out, and enforced. The only time the Midoriyas would leave UA grounds was with a hero escort, usually All Might himself. The only times when Izuku wasn't training was when he was either sleeping or whenever he got a day off. Yes, he was also trained while he ate. Oh, most definitely. Pardon me one moment. Apologies. Wound up having to yawn. Now, as we get to what the actual schedule is, All Might and Izuku go out and train at Daguba Beach together, quirkless sparring and picking up recyclable materials, moving them off to the side. And yes, both him and All Might are training there. All Might to regain some of the muscle mass lost from the years of not eating and having his stockpiling quirk literally eat away at his muscle fibers, fats, and tissues while he was unable to replace them. And Izuku training up his muscle mass and getting him into a decent shape. As the only reason that Izuku's even allowed to go to Dagobah Beach is quite literally because All Might, the number one hero, is there guarding him. In addition to, well, Peter Parker and Flash Thompson, who just so happened to be going to the beach at similar times to examine how things are. Followed up by a sprint back to UA and a 2 hour 2 hour class session with Nezu. 30 minutes of lunchtime with lunch rush, piling on as many carbs and proteins and many other things the growing boy will need to not only keep that regeneration factor going, but just to feed Toxin in general. Then followed up by several hours of quirk training with Flash Thompson, Shoto Aizawa, and Shota Aizawa, and good old Peter Peter Parker. Needless to say, his days are very, very packed and very, very strenuous. As you can tell, just as day 5 has come around, him getting slammed into the pavement. Oh, it gets even better. Because as the 5 minutes pass by, Izuku is able to dig himself out of the rubble just to notice, oh man, uh, I am sore. Oh, on our left, huh? As he quickly transforms into his suit and jumps back. What the hell? As Agent Venom just comes sliding in from the left-hand side, as he just barely dodges in time to avoid being tackled by the man. As he quickly does a tuck, roll, stand himself back up, and not bad, kid. Now, let's have some fun. As Venom takes on its more monstrous appearance. Come on, show me what you can really do. As him and Toxin have really had enough of being thrown around like a sack of potatoes all this week. All that anger, frustration. Yeah, they transform into their monstrous forms as well and begin to throw down with Agent Venom. Punches galore, followed by grappling. Slinging each other left, right, and center. Constantly pashing each other through buildings. But that's whenever Izuku notices something very different. He sees how Venom's able to swing from these webs it shot out from its wrists, pulling itself up into the three-dimensional space before trying to slam itself back down. As he's about to do that trick yet again, he shoots his hand off straight to the side and lowers his fist down to where his wrist has a straight shot at a lamppost. As he does, a red tendril of, well, almost highly, you could say, adhesive substance shoots out and attaches to said lamppost as he yanks himself towards it, quite literally pulling him 30 feet away in just under a second as Agent Venom slams right back down into the pavement where Toxin was. Huh? Okay, I didn't know that would actually work. Whoa, that was dizzy. Yeah, you get used to it. How did... The best way to train on learning new abilities is to pressure and let you copy. I figured if I pulled that stunt enough times, you would at least try it yourself to see what you could do. That's not how I learn things best, if I'm honest with you. Oh, my stomach. Yeah. Believe it or not, Flash took about 4 months to get used to swinging around without having to, well, lose his breakfast. I can see why. Meanwhile, Toxin, that was fun. Let's do it again. It's like, please, Toxin, no. Toxin, yes. Oh, Lord, calm down, both of you. Huh? As Venom retreats back inside of Flash, both of you need to calm down. Listen. Fighting can be fun, but it's also dangerous. You need to learn how to balance that out. Training is one thing, but you can't have that same enthusiasm in an actual fight. Go take a shower. Both of y'all cool off. But no buts. You can learn more later. Shower now. Right. As they both go hit the showers. Meanwhile, Peter is sitting down watching all this as Flash comes back around and says, "You had no idea they could do that, did you? No clue whatsoever." Oh? Wouldn't it make sense for them to have some of my abilities, considering I was bonded with you? Well, I was bonded with Venom for a while. Then, Venom gave birth to Carnage, and Carnage has similar abilities to mine. Or, yeah, pretty much similar abilities to mine. Yes, but he rarely uses them. At most, he just uses his tendrils to lash out and such. He doesn't even utilize the climbing ability unless he's just trying to actually be stealthy. 9 out of 10, he'll just dig his claws and, well, into any surface and start just pulling himself up that way. This Toxin, he's going to be dangerous, especially if what I think is going on is going on. What do you mean? We need to talk with that All Might guy. Oh? Yeah. I think Izuku might have copied. I think Toxin might have copied his quirk. What makes you say that? His punches. They hit hard. Well, yes, No, you don't understand. They hit riot level of hard. You're kidding me. No. Riot is the strongest sun. Toxin, I can believe, is strong, but I don't think he's naturally that strong. Oh? Why you say that? Simple. Whenever we were first fighting against each other, he slammed his fist into my rib cage, and all it did was bruise a couple of them. This time, when he slammed his fist to my rib cage, he shattered 7 of them. One, for the sheer fact that I'm used to pain as well as Venom regenerating me, I probably would have made a lot more of a fuss about it. Shouldn't you have told him to stop? No. The kid needs to learn how to fight first, then he can learn how to hold back. If he has to constantly worry about fighting, well, how to fight, how to hold back, how to do this and that, it'll alter his fighting style. The best way for him to learn is to be very proficient right off the bat. But that is obviously not going to happen. So, second best way is to have him learn on someone who can actually heal from what he dishes out, then tell him how to hold back on normal people who can't regenerate. In some aspects, I imagine you're right. You could also deal with him actually sparring with All Might, but that happens when they're both not using their quirks at all. Yeah. Not to mention, have you seen that guy? He's gone from skinny to, I swear he's gained what, 80 pounds within like 5 days. It doesn't surprise me. How can it not surprise you? The motherfucker literally went from skeleton with skin to looking like someone who's just severely emaciated. That's Toshi for you. Give him some food, give him some rest, and give him some workbenches. He'll surprise anybody by the amount of gains he can make. Heck, you'd be surprised. Izuku even had a theory about it. Huh? About what? One for all, or rather, I should say, the quirk All Might has. Okay, what the fuck? What? You keep on saying the name of his quirk and then trying to go around it. Like, what is the big deal about it? It's a very special quirk. How special can it be? It's just a quirk. Yeah. I mean, heck, I found out by accident about what it is, so why it's so special. Just don't tell him I told you the name of it. Yeah. Now, what about it? It's a stockpiling quirk. Basically, it stockpiles energy from your body into kinetic energy. In his case, it not only takes the standard muscle mass and everything else of that nature and pumps it into his body, but it also can take the fuel and such from there. Huh? Basically, the longer and harder he fights, the more hungry he's going to be because his metabolism's kicking into overdrive. Uh-huh. The more fats he has to go through, the more carbs, the more everything that his body drains, he has to replace. Uh-huh. The guy was missing a lung and a stomach. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Get that? Yeah. So basically, guy was basically killing himself to use his quirk. Wow. So you're saying every time, yeah. Remember, without a stomach, he literally has no large. He's basically running a diesel truck with no gas tank. Basically, whatever went in, and it would only take a little bit of time before it had to go out. There's no storage tank in there for the fuel, just constant use. His body was quite literally draining him. Draining him of his muscles, fats, everything he would need to fight. Every time he would transform, every time he would throw a punch, his quirk literally forced his body to eat more of itself to utilize. Damn, that's rough. That's the whole point. He was still doing that, going through all that pain, and still whooping ass. There's a reason why me and David respect the asshole, even if he does act like a dumbass. Yeah, you never told. So that's the reason you and him had a breaking away from each other. Well, to be fair, me and him never really did see eye to eye. It was mainly David that was attached to him, and me and David were in the same type of clique. All Might joined in because, well, him and David got along like a house on fire. I didn't mind. Heck, he was a decent guy. Just loud as hell. Don't get me wrong, I make quips and everything else, but I swear, the guy was worse than me. And that's saying something. Not to mention it would carry over into his standard life, too. Knew nothing of the whole work from home situation. Damn. Sounds rough. Oh, you have no idea. So, what's next on the Izuku list? Oh, simple. We're gonna see if he can turn invisible. What? Well, you know Venom can do that. Not that big of a deal. And it looks like he's able to shoot the webs. So, next best option is to see just how much he's gained from everything. Huh? Well, it's obvious he has traits from me, or Venom, and it's obvious he has traits from Carnage. I just want to know how many. So you're going to try him off with turning invisible. No, I started him off with the web shooting thing. I want to see if he can turn invisible. Why? Simple. It's going to be fun as hell if he does. You're just going to create a whole bunch of problems for these people, aren't you? You bet your ass. Why? Simple. Because I can. And they wonder why they don't let you go more places. You wonder why. As we cut away from UA and on to the docking area of a cargo freighter that was pulled in from being dead at sea. As the police get on board wondering what the hell's going on, because this is essentially a ghost ship. No one hailed the responses. No one was there when the first few people investigated. And it was decided to leave the full investigation until they were able to bring it back onto shore. So that way more people can get involved. But upon it getting to shore, well, a very viscous red substance began oozing away from the port bow, going down, 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 until it hit the water and went underneath the docks as more and more investigation teams were sent onto the boat. This red substance proceeded to get up onto land and take the form of an average, everyday dock worker. Soon, my son, we will meet again. And I'll make sure to finish the job I started. And that is where I'm ending off today. Have a blessed one.